Hello my friends, I'm Rich Larson and I'm the IRC Tire Guy. Today I want to break down something I've noticed after teaching a lot of different private lessons. When I first meet and start riding with someone, I can usually break a rider down into two categories. There's definitely a spectrum, but we're talking about a moto or high-speed background or a trail background. A lot of times, this means what the rider grew up riding will dictate his or her struggle when we get into the hard enduro or technical situations. The moto guys tend to struggle with lugging the machine, holding traction, and not spinning their tires when the going gets tough. The best thing for those guys is to practice those clutch control techniques we've gone over time and time again on this channel. Focusing on as little throttle as possible, being conscious of when your tire spins, and focusing on how to put the maximum traction to the ground. But what about the trail category? What if you struggle to get the machine up into the pipe, up in the RPMs, putting that maximum power to the ground? Today, we have a technique and a drill that seems so simple, but is overlooked by so many hard enduro and trail riders. I teach a lot of private lessons, and I'll tell you, if I ask one of my students to try this, 95% of them can't do it. And really, the majority of them haven't even tried. We're talking about the gate drop technique or motocross starts. Now, I know what you're saying. I'm a single track rider. I'm never going to have to deal with a gate drop. Why would the average trail rider need to practice his motocross starts? Most of these guys and gals aren't going to be behind the gate anytime soon. Even if you're doing a hard enduro, most likely you practice a dead engine start, which is a completely different technique. You don't really practice revving the bike to the moon and then dropping the clutch when the gate drops. But there is absolutely times when this is necessary. Whether it be loading the flywheel before an obstacle, putting out the maximum horsepower for a hill climb, or even the slower techniques like double blips or splatters. Being comfortable with getting that bike up into the power is more important than a lot of riders think. It's extremely overlooked by the average trail rider or even hard enduro enthusiasts. This is a common issue I see a lot of trail riders run into. It's common to see guys that are good at lugging the machine and holding traction, which is great, but struggle to get the bike up into the pipe, putting that full horsepower to the ground. I think a lot of guys have a fear of the bike shooting out from under them, probably because it's happened to them before. This fear has to be broken, and I found a great way to break this fear: practicing your motocross starts. Motocross starts teach you how to make it from one point to the other as fast as possible from a dead stop. If you want to understand this skill in terms of how this will help you in hard enduro situations, think of momentum. A lot of technical situations require the maximum momentum, and often in hard enduro, you don't have much room to get that maximum momentum. Every inch counts in this game. The more proficient you can be at gaining your momentum in a shorter period of time, the more success you'll have on those short climbs with no run-up, loose climbs, and really any technical situation. Even during something as technical as a double blip or jap zap, your ability to get that propulsion up and forward is largely dictated by finding the maximum amount of power to put to the ground. Listen to my machine during a jap zap. The first blip is smooth to get the front end in the air. Then the second blip is heavy with an extra amount of power mixed with compression and rebound of the suspension to propel my machine off the ground before the obstacle. It's a lot about timing, and it's a lot about being comfortable with heavy throttle. During a motocross start, your goal is to put the maximum power to the ground. When practicing this technique, I recommend doing it in second gear. The reason for this is you can get away with a lower rev in first gear and still launch somewhat fast. In second gear, you will know immediately if you aren't comfortable putting enough throttle and power to the bike. Second gear launches are going to be much harder. They require more RPM, a better understanding of clutch, and a more refined technique. Most likely, if you're a trail guy, you'll struggle to get your RPMs high enough in second gear to launch the bike without bogging or lugging. Listen to my machine during the launch. You can hear my RPMs stay pretty consistent. As soon as I drop my clutch, I'm only getting a slight reduction in RPMs initially, then I'm right back up into the power, ready to shift into third. When practicing this technique, you'll find in second gear it takes a lot more throttle to get off the line with consistent power. So let me give you a few tips to help you with your launch. Notice first my body position. I'm focusing on a strong core. I'm flexing my core, holding my back straight. My elbows are up, and I'm fully focused on the gate. My legs are squeezing the bike, and I put my feet in front of the pegs, almost underneath the frame. Notice I don't have a hole shot device on my bike. If you're a trail guy, most likely you won't have one either. Regardless, my focus is on putting all my weight on the machine. Every launch, I focus on compressing my bike and putting all my body weight on the seat. One thing to help with this is focus on weighting the bike, not the ground with your feet. Your feet should only be touching the ground for balance, not unweighting the bike. As I launch, I want a smooth, constant release of the clutch. I'm feeling and listening to my RPMs. If I need more RPM, I'll feather the clutch. Again, during the launch, focus on that centered body position. Don't let your legs flail out. Keep them tight into the bike. Just like any technique, this one will require lots of practice. Again, this directly relates to your hard enduro ability. Listen to the similarities of a big climb with no run-up. Heavy RPMs, smooth clutch, putting the maximum amount of power to the ground. I can guarantee you, if you master your motocross launch technique, you'll immediately see the way it will help you in those hard enduro situations. Let us know in the comments if you've ever practiced your moto starts, and let us know how the practice is going. I hope you guys are enjoying the channel, and if you are, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as follow us on Instagram at IRC Moto and my personal Instagram page at RichLarson511. And until next time, keep tripping.